I just repeat Zen koans to myself while I do it.
I repeat Zen koans when I'm on the toilet. I just do it. It's easier that way.
Well, awesome.
One ass cheek claps.
Yeah.
Can you?
What's the sound of one ass cheek clapping?
Hello, everybody. This is Clay on the Turtle Reads. I'm here with Melissa, talking about ass cheeks clapping.
Whoa.
And we're here with our special guest, Arielle Isaac Norman.
Howdy.
Hey, thanks for
want
coming.
Me to wave to some camera? Oh, wait, there's my camera.
Yeah, all good.
What's the sound of one pussy lip popping?
We're asking the important questions here on the Turtle Reads. And we're discussing The True Believer, The Nature of Mass Movements by Eric Hoffer. It was, for sure, out of the realm of the normal stuff we read here. But
what are you guys usually reading?
I don't know. Fantasy, sci-fi.
Oh, really?
Discworld. You
Discworld.
ever heard of it?
No.
We did the one we did before this episode was we did the Gucci Mane's autobiography.
Oh yeah,
that was
who is Gucci
that was
Mane
a Gus,
exactly?
I don't know.
Like a
I
singer?
still don't
He's
know.
a rapper or something?
He's more of a producer. He
Okay.
Owns a whole production, like rap production company and shit like that.
I think
Also a
until
rapper.
this moment, I actually thought people were just saying Gucci, man with a fun accent. That's Gucci Mane. You know what I mean?
Well, what we found out by reading the book is that is technically what people are doing. Because
Yeah.
Maine is a southern twang of man.
So his name really is Gucci Man, but with a twang.
Yes.
Yeah, and then over time, I think people forgot.
His-
And then it
Okay.
reached Boston, and nobody knows about that shit there, right? So it just kinda,
their own accents got even weirder.
we went and we diverged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're spelling it with an I in the middle.
Gucci,
Maine.
Maine.
Gucci
Maine.
They think it's a place
Gucci mine.
in Maine. No, I mean,
It gets fucked. You know what I hate when it gets to Canada? Because then they add
Gucci Mane.
they add like an extra A to words, like again. They go again. That's how you know.
Oh.
That's a secret way to know somebody's from Canada.
Again.
Not even more than
Big.
the A is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go. I thought I'd never come again.
Sounds like, that's like British or something.
Yeah. Well, we all have kind of like a hodgepodge,
Right.
riff-raffy kind of whatever
I don't.
assortment of accents.
My subconscious rejected all accents.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. I grew up in South Louisiana.
I can hear it.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in South Louisiana. I don't sound like nothing.
Every way of
Okay.
every way of talking is an accent. Didn't the British make up their accent or something? Who is it that
No, Spain, right?
I think a
The
bunch of
lisp.
people did. There's a lot of people, a lot of countries that were like, let's just make up an accent. I
Yeah.
think that's actually something that the British did. They kind of like
But there-
affected it for a minute until it
There
became
is
real.
there is a like I forget what it's called, but it's a term for people who've like watched. The person who studied this said it was probably because of like television and computers and shit having so many different dialects and accents that people are listening to so often that there's a new term for people with a non like specific accent like
The internet accent.
I thought we call it,
basically
it's like the
that.
TV anchor accent was kind of the idea for a while, but now
it's
but
now
we don't
it's-
sound like that either.
no not
right?
not that.
not the old school kind of, that
Yeah.
not that
No,
kind
just
of TV
like
one. but-
basically just like saying it English words, but with just no accent, just like basic. Like I will speak like
Well,
this.
I think it's
and
called
it
regional
will-
American English.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the term. Regional American
Yeah.
English.
And
Yeah, that makes sense.
Even the way you pronounce all kinds of words is inherently an accent. There's something you just said a minute ago I even noticed, but like, how do you pronounce the word? Or do you say, I don't know, what's a good example of this?
We should just keep talking and then point it out.
Yeah, well,
so that
I'll
we
point
can
it
make
out next time you
each
have.
other feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
about how we speak. How about that?
You don't say y'all?
oh, I say y'all a lot for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if that's an accent so much as like dialect.
yeah, that's
choice.
that's
yeah.
just a regional random ass word that we decided to make instead of you all because it's
Right.
Yeah.
so much easier.
Well, we got rid of thou as the singular you.
yeah.
So then we only had you for both singular and plural. So now sometimes have you guys, yous guys,
The
you
royal
all,
you.
y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, the royal you.
Yous guys.
I think y'all is the best one. But
Well, I'm from the Bronx, and I grew up instead of saying ask, I did say axe.
Oh yeah.
because people from the Bronx are retarded. So,
It's some people would argue that because AAVE is a dialect on its own, that
No, it's
axe
not.
is an official word.
AV is it's like you could say it's a kind of a Creole, right?
Yeah.
What-
Like a pigeon.
What's
Like a
AAV?
pigeon English. Yeah.
What's a?
African American vernacular
blah, blah, blah.
English.
Yeah. They used to call it Ebonics.
Is
Right?
it,
Right.
No, Ebonics. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's wrong with it? Is Ebonics like a bad, did that get canceled?
I think it probably did.
What did it come from?
Who
Is it like
cares?
ebony? Remember like ebony
Yeah.
and ivory? So
Ebonics
ebony
is-
Yeah, I think
peoples.
that's etymologically
exactly
that's
what-
probably
But
a
they
good guess.
probably made that up, right? I don't think some white person made that up.
Yeah, it's always like that.
Yeah.
Fucking Jesse Jackson said something in the 70s and then everybody was like, okay, we'll do that. And then suddenly everybody's mad about that.
Well,
so
I
they
think
change
because
it.
once people started calling it Ebonics, like then some people are going to start disparaging Ebonics and making fun of it. So then it became the bad word because
Yeah, but you just move on to something else and then
Right.
that's going to become that
yeah,
word.
Avi or whatever. How are we supposed to pronounce that? AV, Avi. Some people
don't
say
know.
Av or Avi. I'm like, that'll just become.
Yeah. I don't know. We should all just kind of.
We should all love each other.
Not that.
We should all speak right.
We should we got to speak
We
right.
should speak
You got to
correct.
speak good English. AV.
Well, I mean, it is, but there's a real case to be made, to be fair, for the AAVE, just because there's certain grammatical things that actually were taken over from like African dialects so that the grammar structures, like the syntax structures and things that are different, a lot of them really are taken from African dialects that they have kind of like switched over here. But it's also, I wish that I spoke worse. Like I have to be myself, I think. But like I watch even like Tim Dillon always using past participles
Well, he's from
wrong.
Long Island.
I know,
so
and I think
that's
it's
how
so
they talk.
fun. I think
Yeah.
it's so fun. I think saying went instead of gone is actually funnier almost always.
Well, comics like you do struggle because I know you
Yeah.
covet that kind of because it's such a easier way to kind of hack the social,
Yeah.
break the ice.
yeah.
It's so simple and so direct, but
Yeah.
you have to actually figure out like
It really bothers
to, like,
me.
you have
I'm
to get
too
them to
classist to
listen
say
to you.
the wrong, to say grammar wrong. So
No, you should.
I should code switch and just talk to the lowest common denominator of my
you should
audience.
code switch sarcastically so people know
Yeah.
you're making fun of them.
Right.
You should
Yeah. Or so that some people know I'm making
do a
fun.
Puerto Rican accent right now.
Wait, can you do one and then I'll do it?
I think I already am.
No, it's a little. Let's lean in harder because I don't really know what a Puerto Rican accent is.
I don't know, like Rosie
Do-
Perez,
Do
right?
your mom. You
Do my mom?
Yeah,
Yeah, do your
you do your
mom.
mom all the time.
I mean, I exaggerate her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do that.
My mom. Well, it's hard because I always have to start with her saying my name because that's
That's
what kind
fine.
of clicks me into it.
Melissa.
Yeah, but she goes Melissa. That's how she sounds. She's like Melissa.
All right, do a whole
You want
sentence.
to go to the store? I can't really actually, because I still have my first generation kind of accent in the way. She has
Okay.
a genuine, I moved here when I was 16 from the Dominican Republic accent. I grew up
Melissa.
here
Is that
in the
how
70s.
how do you lean into it? Do you like exaggerate? Melissa.
She goes, Melissa,
Melissa.
let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Your accent is. I don't know. I can't. I need more because I don't know what the
You know
tells
what
are
it
for
is?
Puerto Rican.
You need to move your head more.
Oh yeah, a little.
Because
of
when you're
that.
speaking the way you normally speak, you're very poised.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just like, I just think that practical. That's you, right? But
Throw
what you
a
gotta
little-
do is
nice.
Throw a little bit
That
more
was-
sass into the
you gotta-
accent.
looking
you
in a
gotta
mirror.
move. You gotta
Yeah.
move your head around.
Or like if you're doing Indian accent, you got to do that.
Yeah, well, that's like their.
The head
Yeah.
bobble thing.
But we're doing it more like sassy.
I have a question. Do you think it's acceptable in the woke world? Like, I think
Yes.
among us, we don't care in general about accents. I think we could do any accent we wanted. We probably wouldn't cancel each other. But do you think it's acceptable for European heritage, like, Northern European heritage people to do Latin accents?
Yeah.
You know how we're allowed to do like Scottish and Australian and the wokes won't get mad? Are we allowed to do Spanish, Italian for sure?
We
No
don't
one
care.
cares about the Italians.
We don't care.
It's not about you caring. It's
No,
about the people.
We don't care. There are woke Latinos.
Yeah.
But you'll know them because they'll usually say like Latinx or
Latinx,
something,
yeah.
right? And so then go act however you want around them accordingly,
Right.
right? But for the most part, Latinos pretty.
No, I know y'all don't
Easy
care.
going. Like, look
Basically anybody but the whites don't care, but it's the whites who get upset the woke whites
Yeah.
get upset about it. I'm not wondering if y'all get mad. I'm saying, do the woke whites care?
They might
Well,
care.
they're very stupid people. So
Right.
I kind of don't.
I feel
It's
like they're
fine.
more focused on getting mad about like people appropriating black culture and shit.
Right.
They're more focused on that. They might make a big deal about the Latin stuff, but it's
Which is funny because I actually grew up in the hood in Houston, like in A-Leaf. And so but it's very natural to me to speak more in AAVE. Like it's native to me to speak like that as
Yeah.
well.
Really?
Like if I was going to code switch, that's the easiest one. I don't know if I should do that. I do it at home. I do it at home all the time.
How can you
Yeah.
say that and not do it a
We'll
little
see.
bit?
Maybe I'll slip into it when I'm feeling it with something we're
yeah.
talking about.
I hung out in the hood in Abbeville and like north side of Lafayette a good bit with like a rap group and shit. So whenever I do hang out with black people, I will kind of catch myself being like, all right, I don't normally talk like this, but also it is a natural feel. Like I'm not like trying.
You don't have to put it on.
So the people know, they're like, oh, okay, this is just how it plays.
I just slip into it sometimes when I'm getting like, passionate about it. You know, if I'm just like in a zone where it's fun, like it's not even about whether there are black people around. It's fun. You know, anytime you hear if you see people like a British TV show, then definitely you can in your head for the rest of the day be kind of speaking in a British accent. Like, hello, governor. Hello, governor. Yeah, that's the kind of TV shows I watch.
Yeah. I'll catch myself because I'll binge watch the same British show, Red Dwarf, over like.
Red
I'll
Dwarf,
go,
yeah,
it's a great show.
Is that about planets?
It's about a mining ship that gets all like it was Doctor Who's main competitor whenever back in the day, about a mining ship that gets lost for 1 million years out into space, and there's only 5 people on the ship survive. The Dave Lister Rimmer, who's a hologram, a robot, and a cat who evolved into what is basically Prince mixed with James Brown.
Yeah, it's
I like
great.
you said 5 people, but one of them's a cat and one of them's a robot.
Yeah.
The people.
Well, it's the future. They're people.
Yeah.
All right, can any of them fuck? Like, are there kids? Will they just all die on?
Well, the main character, Lister, he was sealed in a stasis pod, and then a bunch of radiation leaked on the ship and killed everybody else. And then they built up their 4-person crew on this giant ship. And then just crazy shit happens. Lister fucks the alternate universe version of himself, who's a woman. But
that was hot for a second until the end.
And then in their universe,
I was like, cool, you're just fucking the alternate versions. That's hot. And they're like, oh, to procreate.
Cowards.
Yeah, woman.
No,
that's
cowards.
fine.
not
Right.
to procreate.
Let it be a guy.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It isn't to procreate. It's just because they like match and link up. But
Oh, that's
also,
hot again then. I like that. Yeah.
In her universe, it's the females who impregnate the males, so he actually becomes pregnant
Okay.
Oh, okay.
unknowingly, and it's a wild show. It's really fucking good, and they're making a
Okay.
13th season after 25 years.
You had me until 13th season.
Yeah.
I like a good 2-3 seasons.
Clay, where can we stop? Where should we stop if we decide to watch Red Dwarf? Like, what's the season
Can
where...
we skip any of them?
Yeah.
Or do we stop?
Any fluff?
I wouldn't skip any. I would stop whenever.
You wouldn't skip any. I feel like you're not the right person to ask
Well,
this question.
no.
All right.
There's a stopping point. I would stop after they do the Ouroboros thing. At one point, they explained the entire series that Dave Lister was left at a bar as an orphan to basically make himself. They explain it's the whole tale of Ouroboros eating his tail and everything, and I think that's like season 6. And after that, you could just...
Okay, 6 seasons.
It's like Ouroboros, like a children's story.
No. The snake who eats his own tail.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like he is
He is Ouroboros?
He is the
That's what I'm saying?
snake.
basically, yeah. He
That's what I mean.
He
It's
helps
like he
at one
fucks
point
himself.
in season 4. He helps kind of create the universe.
That's what I mean.
And
So he's
then
supposed to be
he-
the Ouroboros?
Yes.
Like his anus or something?
Because
or?
he fucks himself, makes himself, destroys he makes the world, destroys the world. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a very
I'm tracking.
Americanized
spoiler alert, though.
remake of Ouroboros as a concept. You know, you just turn it into like fucking. That's like exactly what America would do. You see this fucking snake and it's mystical. It's like, oh man. And it's like, how can Americans understand this better? Right?
How do snakes fuck?
Huh?
How do snakes
They
fuck?
have, they
Oh,
have
I just saw 2 snakes fucking outside of my garage 2 weeks ago.
Really?
I have a video of it.
Yeah.
Here,
Can
let me
I
see
see
if I
it?
can find
Yeah.
Damn it! I wish we would have planned this ahead
Look
of time.
at
We could
God.
put it on the screen.
Dude, I've been seeing so many crazy things since I moved here. And then that's one of them. Today, we took out the insulation from our attic space, right? And there are 3 perfectly preserved rat skeletons. Like, they look awesome.
Like it was kind of like a Heaven's Gate thing for them. They're
Yeah,
just
probably.
laying there.
They're
Yeah.
just like, okay, we can go now with the shooting star.
Did they have little shoes, little Nikes?
I wish.
You should put them on them.
What are you
Did
doing
leave
to me
them
right
there?
now? That's awesome. Yeah.
Make little shoes.
Do you want to come over?
Yeah, I mean,
I have 3.
I'm not good at crafts.
You can
but-
have one.
Oh, thanks.
We can dress them up together.
Yeah.
One for me, one for you,
Little
one
purple
for
robes.
jeans.
Dude,
Nike. Am I getting this? Am I putting 2 together? I forget. I don't
I had a
remember.
friend back home, Katie. She actually owns Loose Caboose now. Hey, Katie. It's a bar downtown Lafayette.
Okay.
She would collect bones and shit and like bleach them and make jewelry and different shit out of them. And we had this old skull, a horse skull, in my dad's back pasture that'd been there for years since my dad was a kid.
Yeah.
And I just like I was like, all right. I mean, it's not doing anything here. I brought it to her, and she made a dope ass like mantelpiece out of it and shit. But yeah, she would love like 3 actual
Rats.
whole rat bodies.
That's valuable to some people.
They're perfectly preserved.
Yeah.
I think what I have to do, we looked it up. I have to put it in hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, you got to bleach it.
so we don't get the bubonic plague or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Gene wants to put it inside the coffee table. Like he wants to cut a hole in the coffee table
like
and
on
put
display or in like a cursing
Yeah,
kind of
like,
way.
That's what I wondered for a second. I was like, where's this going? But he wants it on display where he gouges a hole in the table. He puts the skeleton in it and then puts epoxy
This is
over
why
it.
I can't date men.
Yeah. This is why I can. That kind of shit is right up my alley.
But wait, can I see the snakes fuck? Do you have it?
I feel like I don't have it. I'll
Did you
tell
put
Gene to
it
send
in
to me.
your private folder maybe?
That's
You gotta-
that's me time. Yeah, that's my special private time. I have to find that folder.
Have you ever seen the video of the turtle fucking and the sound it makes?
I don't know. I
Oh,
feel like
yeah,
I can
that's
see it in my
hilarious.
mind, but I feel like that's just
It's
because it's
just
obvious.
it's the weirdest, just like little.
Can you do
They're
a
like,
little?
ooh, ooh, ooh.
That feels right. That feels like what you would think a turtle
was like-
fucking sound would make.
Yeah.
To me that's because you think like, okay, that makes sense for a turtle, but like
What do men sound like?
what is
It's about the same.
Yeah.
but like
Burp.
Yeah.
you never see like really wild animals fucking in the wild. You know, like I don't know what
What are you talking about?
I don't know what a gorilla sounds like whenever it's fucking.
I'm sorry.
I think that would be pretty wild.
I thought
Yeah.
you said real wild animals fucking in the wild.
Sorry, I use wild a lot.
Well, because
in
It sounded like- it
sometimes
sounded
you
like
see wild
you were gonna-
animals in the zoo.
Sounded like you're gonna
Yeah, exactly.
walk in on 2 deer and they're gonna be like, fuck me.
I've heard 2 deers running.
wild.
Deer's gone wild.
Yeah.
I've heard 2 deers running before. That was a common thing whenever I would go hunting.
What does that sound like?
Very like
Can't you just shoot them both at the same time then?
no, that's not ethical.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to
That's
shoot them while they're fucking?
No.
What difference does it make?
Oh, come on.
That's a good way to go
Why
out.
don't you
I
ask
would
yourself
think.
that?
Well, it's a good way to go out. I don't see what's the difference.
Like you don't even finish?
yeah, but
Come
I mean,
on.
they don't
like
even.
wait till they're smoking a cigarette. Come
All
on.
right, that's
Wait till the
fine,
deer
but,
is
you
smoking
know.
a cigarette in the
What-
grass.
the
Then
ethical-
Sure. Do you just aim and you just wait as soon as they're done?
yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
Once they're done and it's clear, you don't kill the female for sure because that one's gonna have babies, which is gonna propagate.
Well, that's a good idea.
And so you kill the male.
Oh, I see. So it's not about the kindness. It's about trying to make more babies, deers for hunting. Okay, got it.
Well, it's about population
Yeah,
management.
I would do it where I would take aim at the male horse, and then the moment he comes, then you shoot him right there. Easy target.
Oh, look, here's the snakes fucking.
You got to pull up the big
Should
screen.
Okay, hold on. So these were right in front of the car. We live really close to the greenbelt, so yeah, I don't know,
got
Justin,
'em.
if I can. They're just kind of having sex. Can you see?
It kind of looks like lesbian sex so far, just kind of curled up.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess snakes have sex like lesbians do.
Yeah. Or
Just
lesbians have
scissoring,
sex
just
like
cuddle,
snakes. Yeah, just a lot of scissoring and cuddling.
I guess it's
wrapping
called
and-
roping.
Roping.
That's
yeah.
what you should
We'll
call
call
it.
snaking. Yeah.
Do you really?
No, we should. But what are there parts of them? Like, do they have what do they put their tails together? I don't
I
know.
There's
know-
like one part
There's a
because they
slit.
got scared when we got too close and tried to leave.
Yeah.
They were still kind of attached.
They were attached.
Yeah,
Oh, is it
so-
kind of like dogs where they have the thing where they're
I think
engorged?
they
and
totally
then-
went through this just now because they're trying to sneak in through. They're trying to lurk or slink back into that crack in the ground, which they can
Wow.
fit in, but not their genitals attached.
Oh, they had to come above ground to get into that crack.
Yeah, I know for sure.
into the
Alligators, another reptile, it has like the penis actually like comes out of like it looks like there's nothing there normally on their
Right.
belly, but yeah, it'll
They
come
usually
out.
tuck.
Every girl's dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most reptiles tuck.
I know it should be. I wish men would have it where they just keep the dick in, and then just when you're hard, we can see it.
I mean, I'll tell
But
you, I
keep
think
the-
that's one thing both of the sexes can agree with.
Yeah.
I think is that
You don't
right.
want
Don't you
your-
also wish that your dick and balls were kind of behind?
We're just hanging out, exposed, being
maybe like
dangly
at least
and
like some
creepy.
saloon doors.
Yeah.
like you can kind of put them behind.
I mean,
I guess
protection.
men often have their full bushes for that.
yeah, you kind of it's like a peekaboo.
I wouldn't
Like
want it.
this would be your dick and balls. Like you'd be like this.
I wouldn't want it so
You know?
enclosed because it is nice to kind of have them like especially whenever it's hot out.
Right.
You want to give it some air.
Well, that's why
But
you have to have
if
it.
we had protection,
yeah.
like to where if somebody just walks up and like tries to punch you, if
Right.
there was something covering that actually protected it,
You know what?
then that would be dope.
I've changed my mind because I do need to be able to kick men in the balls.
I think that's the compromise. I think they get the physical advantage, but we get the balls.
We get the
We got
handicap
the
kit.
yeah. That's like
Yeah.
a pull in case of emergency.
Yeah.
Just like a yank, like
Yeah.
a cord yank, like in the subway.
I
Yeah.
always thought it was unfair in Muay Thai class when they said in sparring that we weren't allowed to hit men in their balls because I'm like, they're so much stronger than me. Just
Yeah.
let me
Where
have
else?
my advantage.
Yeah. Where else am I gonna hit them?
Yeah.
I gotta
I
smack
gotta
'em around?
practice. I gotta practice for the streets here.
Yeah, it's like I gotta get away.
Yeah.
Like that's my version of this.
Yeah. Protect your balls. Like you should have to when what are you going to fight like that out there? Like
That would be hilarious.
you got to be
Like,
busy protecting your balls. That's like,
all male martial arts class where it's just protection of the balls.
yeah.
That's the main focus.
It should be. Don't you guys ever have to practice for actual fights? Like you should. Do men have that? Like this kind of code of contact when you fight each other? Like
Yeah,
don't go
no,
for each
for the
other's
most
balls?
part.
Yeah, they do. It's so
For the
stupid.
most part,
it's
we-
so,
So
so
funny.
dumb.
If you
yeah.
see two guys
It's like, do you
fight,
wanna win?
they're not swinging for the balls. They're swinging for the head. Any fight between two guys can be ended in like a couple seconds with one good shot to the nuts.
Well, I guess
But
it
most
depends on
guys
why
will
you're
not.
fighting. Because if there's like honor involved, then you don't do that. But
Yeah.
if you're fighting because someone's trying to mug you or something, like
Yeah.
just gonna go for the balls,
Yeah.
right?
Grab them.
It's so funny to think of men
Yank
having
'em.
honor. Like you're getting
Yeah.
mugged and you're still like, well, I can't go over the
Yeah.
balls. That'd be wrong. But
That's
I'm
dishonorable.
fighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm not even a really punch people type of person. I'm
Sure.
the more person who will like pick someone up and slam them on their head.
Yeah.
I like wrestling a little bit more.
But if you fold them up, you could slam them on their balls.
Yo.
Finish him.
Find a
Come
railing
on.
and just fucking king.
Yeah.
Don't you want to just do that now, just to see if it works?
Pretty satisfying.
Well,
in
it
my
would
mind.
We
work.
could go outside right now.
That's the thing.
Make this happen.
It's not if it'll work. That
Yeah.
will work.
Yeah.
That'll put them out for a good while.
I don't know. Well, we could make some plans for
Actually,
later.
one crazy story I heard about my dad whenever I was younger. Dad's a big dude, just large farm worker.
Say it ain't so.
He got into a bar fight whenever he was like 18 or whatever, and he always wore cowboy boots and kicked a dude in the nuts and popped one of the testicles.
He had steel-toed boots or
No,
something.
just cowboy
really
boots.
Still.
Just-
Yeah, I mean, they're pointy.
Pointy and
Cowhide.
What about these men who want women to wear their stilettos and step on their balls? Because I always imagine them popping in
Jim
that
Norton.
scenario too. Yeah,
You're like,
do they
I know
pop?
who you're talking about.
We're talking about a lot of men actually,
No,
but do
there's a
they
lot.
pop? Sometimes you know what I mean.
No.
That seems, do you just kind of go like a ginger little like?
The thing is, they step
Maybe they know how
in
much.
between the balls
Oh, what?
Oh yeah, on the skin,
on the skin.
Oh, the skin
Yeah.
kind of just scaring
which
you.
is like
Yeah.
that's like getting a piercing.
that's
maybe.
lame.
Yeah.
I always imagine at least getting some pressure on there.
No, it'll pop if you go too hard.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm.
It's not bubble wrap, dude.
I would watch those. You know how
she's
people,
like,
that's
this is
fun.
Arielle with balls. She's like,
Yeah. You know how,
You want to try it?
like on YouTube, there's like pimple popping videos. Like I would watch ball popping videos.
That's
I mean, all,
actually
all gay women across the world would watch ball popping
Yeah.
videos.
no. That
A
would
lot of straight women would probably be more enthusiastic.
And it would be just no reaction, just infinite satisfaction.
just
They would
kind
just
of
be like,
ASMR.
Yeah,
just
it's
kind
like-
of a
it just makes me tingle back
Just
here.
a
that would be
light-
a good product for like gay women and shit, like bubble wrap, but it feels and looks like balls.
I don't
Just
actually
like a
want
sheet
to.
of
No,
that.
I don't want
No,
to touch
it's
your
not.
balls. I would still use a shoe.
I don't think you get it.
Yeah,
They
I think
want-
straight women might like that if they're
Yeah.
really mad at someone
Yeah.
that day. But for me, I would wear a shoe. I would wear
Yeah.
my Tivas would be popping it.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want to
hold
tell.
balls. They want to
Yeah.
hold a man's pain in their hand, like discomfort. You know, like awareness of his vulnerability.
I'm pretty
right?
sure I'm going to be a gold star till the day I die on touching balls.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Can't blame you. Oh, speaking of which, I did find out the answer to a certain mystery about men's balls that Gene himself discovered recently and shared it with me very enthusiastically. He said that he was like, I always wondered what exactly happens to balls when you sit down. Right? Because because a lot of women ask you that, right? There's like, what, like, do you just sit on your balls? Like, how do they move out of the way? Right? So you would think that the balls actually kind of do a thing like that.
Yeah.
No, actually, they split like a ballerina.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And they do it, it's like automatically. It's like bioengineered
Yeah.
to do. Like, they're
And he
just not
never knew?
even
That's not
impressed.
obvious
This
to
is
you?
impressive to me.
Well,
That's not obvious to men that
it's
that's
not-
happening.
We
Not
like
always.
whenever we sit down, we don't like take stock of like where every.
Well, I know if you would feel them,
We do, but it's not like your legs. Like I can tell
Yeah.
right now my legs are like that
Yeah.
and like that.
Yeah.
I can't tell how my balls are placed right now.
That's interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
I just thought y'all had enough nerves in there
No.
that you'd be able to.
It's
I
all
thought you
just-
should
it
have enough
all-
nerves for that.
It all
Like,
just feels like one sack.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
And then at one point we do get so old that we are sitting on our balls and shit. So that does need to be maintained or managed whenever you sit down. But yeah.
Yeah.
fascinating.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's why balls start getting saggier and more pulled because you're sitting on them split so often.
Yeah, they're splitting.
That then, and in fact, our ancestors used to like never sit, very rarely sat. Right.
Yeah, so they was just
maybe
taught.
they had tighter balls till they were old and died.
That could be.
Stop sitting. We need those stand-up desks.
We're never talking about this book, are we?
Let's try. Let's try.
Yeah, I'm sure we can segue from balls to the book somehow.
Balls
We're
to
not. We're not
believers.
even gonna segue. We're gonna go and dive straight into this book.
All right.
Arielle, please do us the favor of giving us a quick summary about it. Like, what's this book about? Man, why'd you pick it?
Well, look, I listened to the book on audio tape a month ago, and I've only been trying to reread it. So you probably remember better than I do. But I remember it was recommended to me by someone not long ago.
A Nazi?
It was published in 1951, and it was a guy who was reflecting on mass movements after a lot of shit in Germany and communist stuff and whatever. And he
Russia.
was all these kinds of things where he was trying to figure out how these things happen and how it seems like generally would like to figure out how to prevent mass movements from taking hold, or at least a lot of kinds of mass movements that have ill effects on society. And so it was reminding, I think you can see a lot of reflections in our time. And that's why it was interesting to me to think of some of the things going on, particularly in our society, in America or the West, some kinds of things that are looking like mass movements, and that a lot of the stuff that he was saying did seem pretty prescient in terms of where they come from and how to think about these things.
Well, the interesting thing is that the premise is that, or one interesting part of his premise is that he basically makes the claim that it doesn't matter what kind of movement it is. It could be a revolution, it could be a nationalist upheaval, or nationalist or nationalism.
Just nationalism
I think it is.
of some sort, yeah.
It could be communist, social. It kind of doesn't matter. What were the categories? It was religious, nationalist,
And
revolutionary.
Yeah,
Right.
revolutionary.
I think those were the three, right?
Yeah, that was
okay,
the
yeah.
three.
That all three were, those are the three categories he gave. And then he
Right.
said that they're interchangeable. They're all the same. And
Or they all come from the same motivations and forces.
they
social
all come from the
forces.
same
And-
motivations and forces of the individual within that movement.
Yeah.
Right.
Each individual feels the same level of discontentment.
As well as each one can become another one. So any revolutionary movement can become a religious movement. Any like each one of the three can become any one of the other 3 at any point.
I was trying to get to the part where he talks about like I think there's like 4 stages of these movements. Do you remember? I didn't get to it in my second reading.
Well, let's look at the Wikipedia.
Yeah, you said the Wikipedia
because I
was
can't.
great.
Well, Wikipedia is good if it's. So this is a very abstract work, so to kind of parse through to look through this whole book for these kinds of references is just crazy. It would be so hard.
I was like reading it, and I had a few little gripes with it, like the idea that Christianity was somehow going against the family unit. That was a little wild take.
Well, I mean,
with only one passage to corroborate that, whenever most of the Bible is like pro family and stuff.
Well, wait, what parts of the
what are we talking about?
New Testament? What parts of the New Testament are pro family? I feel like anti-divorce, pretty much.
The New Testament. Well, what he was saying was he's quoting Jesus at one point, right?
Yeah.
He's saying like, I am your mother, I am your father, I am your sister, I am your father.
It's more important to follow me than to stay with your family.
Some guy's like,
basically.
oh, my brother died. He's like, let the dead bury the dead. You got to come with me because we're gonna do this important thing right now. So that's a fair point.
He's prioritizing.
Fair point, but that is only one passage. Whenever like most of Christian and doctrine is like trying to hold the families together,
But that comes later.
That comes later,
arguing.
I think
that's his argument.
Early Christianity, like Jesus' time Christianity, is so different than what came even a few decades later because, he really was. It was like an end of times thing. This was a bunch of Jews who were figuring out how to rebel against the Romans, and they thought the times were going to end soon, and it's just extremely different. So once you get the church. And especially once the church and state become intertwined, like Charlemagne's like, let's all be Christians and do this. Then, or is that the right person? No. Who am I thinking of?
I know who you're talking about, but I'm having a brain fart about it.
Confucius.
No, it's not Confucius.
I know, but
that would be awesome. Confucius just comes out of nowhere.
Is Luther?
No.
It starts with a C.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what can't I think
All right. Roman, Christian.
But yeah, like I had a few.
Constantine. Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, when Constantine, makes it into this like state thing, then it becomes like the state has this vested interest in wanting stability and not wanting a bunch of mass movement. And they didn't want it to be this like revolutionary cult that it started out as, and so it gets kind of co-opted by the state and made into something that, of course, they really like family values, which is an interesting thing about this book because you start really realize. I mean, this guy is trying to uphold the order of society and doesn't want revolution. It's like kind of like how to stop revolution is a little bit and so there's you can read it one way of like, oh, here's good ways to stop this shit from happening and making upheaval in society. Or there's also like, hey, maybe we do need some revolution sometimes. So maybe mass movements could be good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think sometimes a revolution happens, but I think personally people should try to prevent it at all costs from coming to fruition. And if you could divert it into something a little more innocuous, that's preferable.
Well,
because revolutions inevitably, the guy says it in the book himself, right? If you allow revolution to happen, right? This happened with the Bolsheviks, right? Mm-hmm. Immediately, the people that become powerful in that new revolutionary structure are going to be just criminals, all the people that were
corrupts.
out. No, criminals from the inception, like people who already were criminals, right? So it's in their interest to join this revolution because it's like you get your whole record expunged, right? You get to start anew. People believe in you again, right? Like, yeah, you can do it because you're working with us now. But a lot of these people are still shitheads, right? And they're gonna, they're because they're still fallible and they still are struggling with being pieces of shit, basically.
Yeah, but I think
in the shortest, most direct way to say it, but they'll just continue to do that as people who now have power within a revolutionary structure.
Sure, but in a lot of history, things were so bad that like it wasn't necessarily going to be worse to have any kind of revolution. I think right now, how the West is right now, like I don't want to trade this for whatever might come from some revolutionaries. But I'm saying like, back there were old feudal times and stuff where the people were so fucked that like they needed to revolt.
Well, it's yes and no, right? It kind of depends on I don't know. The thing about this book, this was my issue with this book. Okay. First of all, it was boring.
Yeah.
But that's my first thing. But not really. It's just because I've read books like this before, and this kind of maps itself in a similar way. It's the same kind of proclamation of like, these are my ideas and concepts, and he lays it out in a similar way to Machiavelli does in The Prince, right? And it's the same kind of deal. It's like, I know how things work, and this is what you should do if we're going to do this, and this is what we're going to do if we're going to take over here, and this is how a guy does this,
kind of
right?
mansplaining.
Yeah, basically. Okay, sure, yeah, and this is yeah.
And that was part of one of my gripes too. Is it's like a abstract thought experiment book, but then halfway through the book, he's like, well, this isn't an authoritative text, and it's made to do arguments.
Yeah.
But
well, wait, because what I'm saying is, he made this book, right? He talks this way. He just says things are this, and that, right? And I know he's a sociologist. I know he has a lot of experience, right? He doesn't cite any real evidence, right? Yeah. Even when he's talking about Nazis or Bolsheviks, he doesn't cite any evidence. He just psychoanalyzes them sort of from like an armchair perspective, right? In hindsight. He's like,
it's very armchair expert.
This is what the Bolsheviks were thinking. It's like, how do you know? And also there are people that have said differently, right?
Yeah.
My second problem with this is that this is like I said, it depends on how you feel about people, right? Like what they are, what they come from, and what they can be.
Okay.
Which is, he has a really materialistic perspective on humanity, right? Which is the idea that all we are, like purely and simply, are these organisms that are completely at the mercy of external circumstances, just only purely and that's it, you know? And I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, I think that was also kind of during the time of behaviorism being
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I could hear it in that. And I was like, you know, I don't know how he defines that even, right? Yeah. Even within, I don't know how the 1950s thought of that, right? Like external influence. Like, do you count your internal hormonal situation, you know, like, does that count? Is it like, are you counting that? Is it I don't think so, because they didn't have those
because they didn't have the gay stuff in the water yet, so that affects
they didn't have fluoride.
Movements,
they didn't understand anything. But I don't think we're just completely purely and simply at the mercy of materialistic influences, like what was it, what would be an example that he just like social engineering, basically, you know, like, oh, let's swap out this for that. And like, they won't be able to tell the difference because they're, you know, we're just these lemmings who just, are external stimuli is what determines how we are.
You have to take the whole thing with a grain of salt for a million reasons. But, you know, he said some interesting things about the kind of people who are the most susceptible to mass movements, and I hadn't really thought through like who's susceptible to that as much. And some of the people that he talks about are people who like are really creatively stymied, like for one reason or another.
The
misfit.
He has a whole section.
If you're not talented enough, but you really kind of wish you were and wish you could express yourself creatively. If you're too much of a misfit. And I was thinking about the kind of people who are like really stridently woke or into like, you know, gender and racial, what do you call it? Critical politics, you know, it's weird.
Identity politics.
Politics.
They are resentful.
They tend to be pretty resentful, and a lot of times less talented, right? That's something we've kind of all been noticing for a long time that's what first got me into Tim Dillon, like years and years ago. He was posting like some note file thing that he had written. Remember when people would do the note file things? And he was just talking about how all these, I don't even think we called it cancel culture yet, but like all these people who were, you know, were cannibalizing the people in their own industry were the ones who weren't talented enough. And it was clearly this gross thing.
It was the first thing everybody noticed.
And so it's like you see those people. And I know some people who are super deep into that and like really, like, who are really, really into just like total Marxists and very much, wanting to restructure society completely, and nothing's ever going to be enough for them. And it's like, I feel bad because like this one guy I know in particular, you know, he's really autistic, not like to the point where he can't, you know, whatever, but he's like, socially, he's got no clue what's going on.
Can you do a Puerto Rican autistic? Is that allowed?
We won't cancel you, I promise.
Or autistic ebonics.
Oh, shit.
so fucking
that
cool.
would be
No,
wild.
you know what? I was joking with some black comics somewhere in Colorado, and they were at Colorado Springs, I think, and they were talking about how like it's not that there aren't black autistic people. It's just like they don't really figure out their talents because their moms are like, stop playing the piano and do your show, whatever. You know, like so annoying.
Stop playing the piano.
Oh man, I like trains.
Jermaine, how come you're not dancing?
Right.
Fuck, Jermaine. Go out and play dominoes and have a 40 ounce. Relax.
Motherfucker,
right.
I like trains. Fuck y'all.
Yeah, what's the bigger trains?
But I
and
love
piano?
trains, Mom.
It might be just Cam Patterson with his I love rock shit.
Yeah, you could
Yeah, he could have been a geologist.
Yeah.
It's too bad. Wait, what were we saying before we got into the autistic?
Well, you were talking
Oh,
about
your friend.
Oh
who,
yeah, so this guy who's like pretty socially unaware and whatnot, and he, you know, and you know how people are. Like my brother, one of my dead brothers is the same way. We're pretty autistic, socially inept, but you know, smart, like in a science fiction kind of guy way. But like, just was never going to be able to make anything of those brains because he can't get along in this society. And, you know, there are people who really think we need to completely restructure everything so that we can all learn to accept autistic people for everything that they do. And then there's also the school of thought of like, let's help these autistic people kind of figure out how to get along a little bit better. And I you know, I don't know. I think some of both maybe, but I also am like, some of these people, I'm like, I don't know how you're
what's
ever
wrong. Yeah, you
There.
just listen. You're shit out of luck, right?
Yeah,
it's just like being born a woman. It's like, oops, you know, this is what we gave you. There you go, deal with it, right?
Well, I think it's kind of like that argument in schools, like, you know, particularly in public education, where you go, do we teach to the lowest common denominator because we don't want to like make some people feel bad that they're not in the gifted
Absolutely
class?
not.
Or exactly. Like
Yeah.
I think we want to be able to give people who have the highest potential opportunities to express that highest potential. And yes, it would be nice if we could figure out ways to help people who are somewhat socially inept to figure it out. But I'm like, at this point, he seems too far gone to me. He's now radicalized into hating America, hating all of it, you know, and
It's a waste of time. Everybody should be. And the thing is, it's like, again, it's everything goes through the filter of American culture and consumerism, right? So then we kind of lose the essence of a thing, right? Because there's nothing wrong with aspiring to excellence.
Yeah.
That's an amazing, wonderful thing, right? You aspire to be the best that this organism you were given can be at some task or function or whatever, or service. So I think within the spirit of that, if we all operated within the spirit of excellence, of attempting to achieve excellence, right?
Yeah.
Then that would just be good as a inclination, as a
Right.
trajectory, as a group. And we shouldn't. The problem is that we got so caught up in success stories, right? That anybody who fails in this culture feels like immoral for it, and you shouldn't. We should treat it like the Greeks, you know, like Greek tragedy, right? Where it's like everyone is aspiring, but we're all flawed, and so at some point you're gonna fail, and then you're
Yeah.
gonna die, you know, and maybe horribly, and you know, but the attempt was made, and that's noble. And look at us try to fucking, you know, break
the
through
people
this.
who die trying to climb Mount Everest make it a lot more fun for the people who make it. Because
Right.
it's just like the Oregon Trail. Remember how you would purposely die
Right.
so that there would be gravestones on the way for your next
People
for
do
your
that
own
on
I never
character?
purposely
They're like,
died.
Oh, am I the
was-
only one who...
Yeah,
But isn't it true,
I
though?
I
Like,
would try every
You play
time.
the teacher the first few times by yourself, like you nothing, whatever, and you purposely like
Yeah.
die a lot. I would always do because you could write the epitaph, and then
Yeah.
I think that's what they're called, right?
Yeah.
I always get all those words confused, but you write that, and then when you play the doctor and really go for it, then you get to read all the gravestones.
But you just said it yourself, right? Look,
That's just
because
me.
that person has a myth now. You created a
Yeah.
little digital myth for yourself in your game, right?
Yeah.
And so they have a story that you follow, and you know the point where they got dysentery and shat their brains out, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, wow. But us, we care so much about success, and we give so little of a shit about failure, right? That at the very best, like with cyclists and shit, right? You just put like a little ghost bicycle here and there,
Yeah.
nameless people that we don't even give a shit about. You just drive by and just kind of go, oh, okay, that's sad, you know? But, you know, how much better would it be if you're like if you give a name to this person or a myth or a story or narrative.
Yeah, but we need to honor the failures, is what you're saying.
We need to honor the
strivers,
spirit of humanity.
The people who got in the arena but failed miserably also need to be honored.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you know why? Because at the end of the day,
Honor the attempt.
we're literally all going to fail
because
miserably.
then they make us feel better about ourselves, which is really important to me.
We're all going to fail. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know. I mean, there's lots of good
you're gonna
quotes
fail.
and TED Talks and stuff about that.
Arielle, look, you may not fail today. You may not fail tomorrow. 20, 30 years, 50 years.
You're going to fail.
You're going to fall in the shower. Okay? Something's going to happen. You know what I mean? You're going to fall out of a window. And in your broken body, that's your failure. And now you're gone.
I've long thought that I'm probably going to lose both my legs one day.
I feel like I'm going to trip and fall off of something because I'm very klutzy.
I trip and fall all the time. Yeah, no, I mean, there's lots of great quotes and TED Talks and whatnot about how important failure is. You got to fail a bunch of times to make the... Although, didn't that one lady who pretended to make the like blood glucose or whatever I think she talked about that in her. She's like all the time she failed and then
yeah,
wasn't that fucking great?
The lady who spoke with
she actually
like
failed the last time too, but
she's like
the lady who had like the man speech and man speak and stuff.
Was that part of it?
Yeah, she
that was actually the best part of it. Was that
she
trained
the Theranos
Elizabeth Holmes? Am I right?
Some shit like that.
She trained her voice, like on top of all of the other psycho shit she did, like wearing Steve Jobs' outfit and all that. She trained her voice to go down like 3 octaves on purpose.
To sound more like a man, to try to be more authoritative.
She pioneered the trans voice apps
she did.
that they have now.
Yeah. And so you'd see
That's
her.
what she should have sold.
That was her
She was ahead of her time
invention.
on that.
Yeah, exactly. She should have just trained, F to M's, the vocal range.
Come up with a training regimen for people. Fucking get hired to train people.
Yeah. Damn it. All right.
Wasted talents.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. No, I know. So, I mean, this guy, I mean, I'm sure it could be a better attitude for him to take, to be like, let me strive for excellence in whatever I can do and figure out what I'm really talented in and show people. I think, he would definitely say he's been so like spat on and abused. And he's one of those guys where women think he's a creep and it's like mostly he's autistic, but it's like at the same time, he's so socially inept that he is a creep.
Was he an Austin comic originally?
Yeah, let's not talk about who it is.
Oh, okay. I have a guess. I'll ask after.
You know what?
I'll ask after.
Honestly, there could be 30 people you're thinking of. So.
Yeah, but we're all thinking about one.
I have one specific.
It might be that person, but also he watches a lot of what I do, so let's not.
No worries.
Got you. No worries.
So. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I do feel bad for him. I tried to help him for years. I tried to kind of help him and really speak bluntly to him in the way that he needed.
I've also tried that.
To hear like, this is what you got to do. And whenever, and he would barely, you know what I mean? It was like so much of the time. Sometimes he would argue. Sometimes he would kind of get it, but then he would. And to this day, he's like arguing with me. I'm like, you think you're sure of how the world works. But what I want to tell him is like, you're socially retarded. Like there's so much that you are not seeing and will never see and are not capable of seeing. And so you think that you know how to reshape the world for people who we have a completely different way of experiencing the world for you.
Well, but look, this is what comes from telling like autistic people that they're not retarded. You know what I'm saying? Like too much. You know? It's good to say it. It's like,
we're all retarded in some ways. Some people are socially retarded. Some people are mathematically retarded. Some people, there's all kinds of things.
I don't care. It's what I'm saying. What matters is that you have human value, right? You have worth, and the worth you have actually really is the worth that you give to yourself above all, right? And that's all you should ever focus on, right? But I don't know. It's just telling them that they have superpowers, right? That they have it's almost like people are making autistic people out to be superheroes. You know, like oh no, you're not. You don't have issues with social interactions. Really, it's kind of like you're like Spider-Man. You got bit by a radioactive retard, and now you have powers.
Autism. Yeah, it's not vaccines.
Like the
it's not the vaccines.
Especially with like the movies that come out with shit, they just like have like like the accountant with Ben Affleck. He's basically an autistic dude who's an assassin. It's
right, and they do that now. And it started with Rain Man, like Dustin Hoffman, right? Where he was extremely autistic, right? And Tom Cruise is taking him around, but now he's a super powered, counting machine, and he can help him like cheat at the casinos and shit, right? So,
and
that
so
can
many
be
levels.
kind of true, though. Some of these people are really good at the piano or math or whatever.
But that's why the spectrum idea of it makes sense, because there is that level, but then there's also just the mediocre kid who, is interested in trains but isn't like high level thinking.
That's what I'm saying. You
it's
got all
like-
these autistic people now waiting.
Thinking
They think they're Harry Potter.
Yeah.
They think they're Harry Potter. Hagrid's going to come
haven't
any
we all
minute and
been
tell them that
told
they're
that
good
we're
at
Harry
something.
Potter? And isn't Hagrid here? Okay.
Yeah.
Aren't
Look,
we Harry
Hagrid,
Potter?
explain yourself.
Aren't we all Harry Potter, though? I mean, in some ways, we all do have something to contribute to the world and whatever. But I do think it would be a better attitude to
think so.
take. Well,
No,
not the people who are vegetable
We got to
people.
stop telling ourselves that, okay? There are some people who have, listen to me, they're unattractive. They have no innate talents.
Yes.
Okay? They have nothing to offer the world.
okay, but what should they?
They're not even intelligent, right?
but-
Let's say. I'm saying a person like this,
Yeah.
right?
What do they do?
Build a personality, right?
Yeah.
Build
But you said they're
resourcefulness,
unintelligent.
right? Build you even an intelligent like a crocodile is like one of the dumbest things on the planet. Even that thing can figure out how to fucking take down an antelope, right?
Okay.
We can do it, right? You build character, right? Build character. Why is that not enough anymore, right? You have to be like in the Justice League.
I think
You
it's
can't
okay
just be
for
a
them
good,
to.
reliable person.
I think it's okay for them to just make funny TikToks where they think they have personality disorders of various sorts and they think they can identify as various animals or things. But as long as we all just make fun of them and don't take them seriously as like
Yeah.
representing the queer community,
At the
then
very
it's fun.
least.
I just
Yeah.
think we all need to be able to be like, hey, look, these autistic people are very entertaining. It's like
They're great.
getting to watch William Hung all the time on TikTok. But just stop thinking, like, I'm so tired of people on like libs of TikTok and stuff when they post these things, everyone being like, well, gayness is a mental disorder. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
This queer autistic shit is its own thing. Not all
Yeah.
gay people are queer autistic people.
Yeah.
So let's just make fun of Let's all make fun of it
Yeah.
together.
Wear your furry costume and dance around. Shut
Right.
up.
And then the
Shut up, kitty cat.
Right. But
The-
Sing a song.
the mind virus idea definitely got recently like shown pretty heavily whenever a bunch of like high school and college girls started getting what is it whenever you can't not stop yourself from saying curse words?
Tourette's.
Tourette.
Right.
Yeah, they all of a sudden these high school and college
Right.
age girls just developed Tourette's because
Yeah.
there was one very popular TikToker with Tourette's, and then they just listened to her so much they just started kind of developing it. I'm like, that is
No, there's a lot of fads that happen like that, particularly young,
especially with
among
girls.
females. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like
crazy.
my friend has an
Girls
ex.
are crazy, yeah.
My friend who has an ex who like calls herself non-binary, but she seems like a total normal chick, right? And
I think
so
you've talked about her on stage. Have you?
maybe
Yeah.
once or something. But then so the latest story I got was that she had called herself. She said she had multiple personalities in high school, which was very on trend, and now she's non-binary, and it's like okay,
Yeah.
none of this is real. But she just my friend just told me a story about how they were at some kind of like music festival or something, and they were waiting in line for the porta potties together, and some dude is in there just vomiting into which is like the backsplat. Oh God, so
Yikes.
gross. But when he walks out and they see that he's a trans dude because he's got the chest tattoos that you get to cover up the scars or whatever, and so he's probably like 5'2" or whatever, gauges, who knows.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Put two
so
and two together.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the non-binary chick starts flirting with him or trying to, but the guy very quickly is like, oh, I'm a gay guy, and then she's like, oh, me too. This is so great because this former lesbian who's now a gay guy just tries to reject this chick who's then like, I'm a gay guy too.
No, man, yeah.
You can't escape these
He's
people.
like, I fuck animals. She's like, a ruff, ruff.
God, yeah, that's wild. That's another thing with the book. It was made in 1951, so I understand like he didn't have the like now. Taking a look at that book was very interesting to me. It all of it has been accentuated by the internet. Like,
Yeah.
pretty much every ideology, political movement, anything has just been enhanced to be mass movements through the
like
internet.
even flat earther,
commodified.
Yeah,
even
yeah,
flat
exactly.
eartherism as a
What do you see what's happening?
Exactly.
They that's a good point, right?
Yeah.
They basically commodified and commercialized mass movement, right? So
Yeah.
now mass movement is an aesthetic.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's just a subculture now.
Every-
Just kind of
You
fad
can buy
movement.
Yes,
into it.
every mass movement has its own area of the internet where they can sell each other stuff, recommend each other the books that quantify their ideals and shit,
Right.
and
Yeah.
fucking like
Well, doesn't that kind of fall within the diverting revolution diverting revolutionary inclinations and rechanneling it into something
It would
without, like declawing it,
my
basically.
idea-
It's more innocuous now.
It is.
Do you think?
It does help in both, help and hurt, because it like with the Arab Spring, internet came and kind of pushed that along to happen, but also the internet has helped spread ideas of like a peaceful divorce. Like with America, instead of having a revolution, instead of us just kind of peacefully splitting apart.
Well, the old
which would
internet
be
did that.
No, I've heard.
I don't know
a
if
good
the new
bit of-
internet can do that. Because it's a lot of censorship now. There's a lot of shadow banning.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
true.
pushing down of
Except for
content.
on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You can say anything you want to on Twitter. I've recently discovered because of
that's not a good. I don't know.
Leonardo's fucking Twitter people.
Have you
are
seen her?
crazy.
Yeah.
Like because she'll just post like wild shit. She doesn't agree with a lot of the nonsense that the people who post, but she'll like just get their memes, and I'm like, these
stir
are
up
funny,
the
but
shit.
good God. Okay, so they're talking about how, or the Eric Hoffer is talking about how like there's these three types. What is it? The kinds of mass movement: religious,
So it's,
nationalist, or
revolutionary, and religious.
Yeah.
So
I think those are the three.
So I think about the queer kind of movement a lot because it definitely feels like a mass movement, and a lot of people call the woke queer stuff a religious movement, and it definitely is in a million ways. Like you can really see a lot of parallels. There's apostasy. There's words you're not allowed to say. There's even kind of thing you're shaving your head and cutting off your whatever.
If
There's
you
a
go
lot
against
of stuff
their
that
doctrine, they shun you.
This kind of apostasy stuff. Like,
Do you think? I find it. I don't think it's actually religious. I think it has religious aspects.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So there's all these religious aspects, and I think there's revolutionary aspects. They definitely want to overthrow a lot of stuff, whatever. But there's also, I think we could call them queer nationalists because they care about their interests above and beyond the rest of society, like anybody else in
but within
society.
their national,
they have
national
that
structure.
kind of feeling. I think that might be the best way to put it.
Yeah, because they're not really like the queer movement here isn't trying to help queer people in like Middle East or anything. Like it's
No, it's just
definitely
here.
a heavy.
Although I do see that there's some Queers for Palestine rooftop parties that look really. That's my.
Dude, the world is so crazy now that I was like, really? I was about to just believe you. Like, damn.
Yeah, I've seen the Queers for Palestine poster, and for a second the joke went over my head, and I'm like, oh, rooftop, gotcha.
Yeah. I just wonder if anyone's done that like unwittingly, like hadn't like not realized what they were doing.
Right.
Like some New York
That would
people.
be so fucking funny.
I think so.
They'll
I think,
totally do that.
I think Bridget Fetisi was telling me that I think Andrew Schultz or somebody has a joke like that about how like, hey, Queers for Palestine, yeah, why don't you come up to the rooftop? But I just like the idea of a rooftop party that they put on without even thinking about it.
How much you want to bet that's happened?
I think that's already
It's
happened.
It's already
probably
happened. Because rooftops
Some
in New
Brooklyn,
York, people,
yeah.
exactly. In Brooklyn, they use them a lot,
Right.
for
Man.
shows. And things.
I would go just
I would
see
go.
if there's any hot chicks
Look
I could
around.
convert.
Stay away from the edges,
Yeah, stay away.
Bring a parachute, chill out, base
Bring a
jump.
paraglider.
Yeah, be ready to base jump, get out of here. Just parkour,
Yeah.
brush up your parkour skills. You'll be fine.
They said they have bungee jumping setups at the
Yeah.
party, and it's like, no, don't worry, we're just gonna have you bungee jump.
Just the,
Free pizza.
Yeah, just the trampolines on either side in case
That's hilarious.
they're just kind of like, we love being pushed off the roof.
They jump off like,
But with the Israel-Palestine stuff now, I feel like this book would be very controversial for most, like, because he starts going into like Israel and
He does talk about kind of Jews in the aftermath of World War II and why they would be particularly susceptible to a mass
yeah, I
movement.
think he makes a good point there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does seem kind of like, and I just think generally speaking, I know that there were some real not great things that the Zionists did when the the UK, the British government's like, hey, you guys go, you can have Israel, there's people there, but go take that land over there. And they were like, all right, well, we're going to have to intimidate some of them into leaving one way or another.
The international community was backing this
The
the whole
international
time. And
community-
now they want to just kind of like wipe their hands of it and act like they
It was
didn't have anything to do with
Post World
it.
War II, that was the decision that was made by the people who won the war. The Ottoman Empire had been dissolved, whatever. And so, and it's also, I think,
We're all read up on it now, unfortunately, thanks to those two fucking asshole countries who can't get their shit together.
I've been meaning to read up on it for my whole life, so thank you. Never mind. The awareness
I
raising.
hate having to read about their stupid history. I don't want to read about some fucking other country's entire history.
Yeah, it's a lot of. There's just so many
to read the
countries
news.
involved in it and things.
Yeah.
But so it was a weird time in history because we kind of. like post World War II, it kind of feels like the end of history a little bit. It was like, that's kind of, we all feel now like we're never supposed to redraw the maps anymore. And we get really annoyed at anybody who tries to do it, but we're all kind of like, this is the map. We don't do that anymore. We don't conquer land anymore. But conquering land was very normal.
Well, not only is it normal, it's still happening.
It's still happening, of course.
Everything,
it's still happening and whatever. But
slavery is still happening. Colonization is still happening. Everything is happening.
I find interesting is we don't look at countries as the people within them. It's the borders. Like if you had one country next to another country and you had like 50% of the people move from this country to this country, wouldn't you think that like the border should slowly start moving as the population here grows and the population here shrinks?
Well, it depends on why they're moving. Maybe that country sucks and you want to be like, let's widen them.
But then,
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, add some. Yeah,
add some because this one's obviously doing better. This one's not doing so well, and
the world doesn't work like that.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
but what if they're coming over because they're getting enslaved or something? I don't. There's a lot of reasons you might move.
Yeah.
Or if it's a temporary drought, I don't know. There's a lot of.
I still have like 10 more years of reading to do to really understand the Middle East. So we have to talk about something else.
Yeah,
I'm not well read enough.
Okay,
on the
Nazis.
history.
So
one thing though that I can't get out of my head is if there ever was a virulent nationalist queer uprising and these people just fucking come out of the woodwork and they're like armed militias of I would feel like I was having an acid trip because it would be furries,
right,
and like leather daddies, swinging maces and shit and cock rings.
It'd be very Mad Max.
The whole thing would have to be organized by the lesbians because they're better at that. They would just.
I'm not sure which side the lesbians are going to be on.
They'd be like generals. Yeah, I don't know.
Who's fighting whom? What the queer people are going to fight the government?
See, look, this right here. This would be all the lesbians. It's like who's fighting who?
Who's fighting whom? I don't know. Rise up against whom?
We're going to sit this out. See what you guys do. Figure it out. But it would just feel so trippy.
I had my car parked somewhere, and this was in 2020. I had my car parked near because I was working at Juiceland in Hyde Park at the time, and someone had left some bumper stickers on my car, and it just said like resist and persist. And I'm just like, what am I resisting?
You got conscripted.
I'm actually not sure what this means.
Yeah.
Persist in what? Resist what?
Resist reality. That's what it is.
I always find that.
Right. Like there are things to resist. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like, I don't actually know what you mean.
What you're standing for with this.
Nobody knows what anybody means.
Right.
Yeah.
One word gives me no clue as to what you're actually for or against or.
That's the problem.
Was just kind of like resist Trump. He was.
Nothing. They don't even tell you.
Yeah.
It's like you'll find out. When it's time to cut the head off.
My favorite is the coexist sticker with all the different symbols doing the letters and shit.
I once made a parody one where I snuck in like a swastika just to troll people.
Yes.
Did it work?
People bots. It was back in when, like on Cafe Press where you could design your own things and people could buy it. You could make a little bit of money. I don't know why they bought. I didn't ask. I mean, who knows if they did that on purpose. But I snuck out a couple different symbols and like snuck in. So you couldn't tell. Most of them were still the same. But I'm like,
so funny.
You really want to coexist?
Yeah.
You got to take everybody.
You a pluralist or
everybody.
not? Yeah.
That's great. Dude, I mean, I'm surprised they let you print that because like most places won't allow like that kind of shit to get printed.
Didn't notice at
Probably
first.
didn't notice. Yeah, the AI might have found it by now. I don't know.
I know.
The NBA was doing a thing for a while where you could order your own jerseys with whatever you wanted printed on it. And they were really strict about anything against like China or anything like that.
Yeah.
Couldn't be printed.
Because they were going to be made in China. So
yeah, I remember that.
But they had videos of people ordering "We hate the Jews" written just straight up on the back, and that was perfectly fine. That kind of shit. It was wild.
Everything. That's all great now.
This Jew hatred thing is pretty alarming. But I just heard that
Are we in a podcast during the Weimar Republic right now? This is like
It's getting
what
a
year
little
is it
weird.
right now?
It's getting a little weird.
This animosity towards the Jews is getting a little alarming.
It's getting a little much. I mean, I have been spending some time on Leonardo's Twitter. So, but there's so I heard the Bolsheviks were apparently Jew. Like there was this whole list of all these things where I'm like, everybody who's ever tried communism was Jews. I'm like, Jews I know are not into communism. So I don't know.
Not all of them.
Yeah, because they learned their lesson.
Yeah, maybe it's like at least they learned their lesson. I don't know. But
Not all of them.
I don't know what the
Chinese communists weren't Jewish.
that's true.
Well, yeah, but when it came to
That's one.
I did meet a
Europe-
Chinese Jew the other day.
Yeah, that's probably what
She
happened.
converted.
Yeah.
We had we had a Russian show, like all Russian. The guy's name was I forget.
Vladimir.
It, started with an S. I forget his
Sasha.
Sasha. It was Sasha.
Yep.
And it was all Russian show except Christina Mariani. She opened, but they had one family of Asian Russians, and I was like,
There's lots of Asian
Well,
Russians.
yeah,
I've
you
never
mean
met
like-
one.
you
I've
mean
never
the-
met
Oh
one.
yeah. No, I'm just
Just
saying.
the
there's
Russians
lots.
from the east
Yeah.
side.
No,
They all look
it was
Asian.
an Asian,
They looked Asian.
That's probably
and
what.
they spoke straight Russian.
Yeah, they're probably from the eastern side of Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just-
Russia is
I'd never
like
met
kinda
that. That blew
Mongolian.
me away.
Well,
I
yeah.
was like, oh, fucking cool.
Yeah, people think of Russians as like
White.
just white people,
Yeah.
but
I don't.
or
For
like
sure.
European.
I've
you know,
never considered them white.
this is actually you're like the whitest
They
person.
are-
You're like so white that you're like Russians, Jews.
I don't even consider the
They can't
Irish
come in.
white. I've never changed my mind on that. And
Okay.
Well, I agree with you
I'm
there.
scared to ask what you think of Cajuns.
I mean, they're half white and half whatever.
If you want to know, just
All
read
right.
read
Cool.
Lovecraft.
Hey, that's great.
No, I mean, I'm part Irish too, and part a little bit of everything. But I just think, first of all, I'm very like, we need to get rid of the concept of whiteness. Like,
There never was a concept of whiteness.
Well, it was invented.
Until recently.
white is just what it looks like to black people. That's it.
No,
and
white-
that's all it ever was.
It really was. It was invented as a concept because like European heritage people didn't used to like think of themselves as the same at all.
But
they
they
didn't-
they
they never-
hated
they
each
didn't-
other the same way.
Yeah.
Chinese
Yeah.
and Korean and Japanese people
They-
all hated each other
they
until
didn't
10
say
years ago.
white people. They would say like the what is it? The Irish nation, right?
Yeah,
Or
people
the
had
Teutonics.
their ethnicities
Yeah.
until we needed a reason. My ancestors were not slave owners, but till the European heritage people who were here who wanted to own slaves still like at first it was because the Africans were heathens, but then some busybodies started converting them to Christianity, and then the slave owners were like, well, this is awkward. Now they're not heathens, but we still want to enslave them.
That is awkward.
So then it was like, oh, okay, well, it's because we're white and they're black. And so the black people are like subhuman, whatever. So now we can keep enslaving them. And it's really just like this weird way of grouping people together as,
Yeah.
in this way to uphold power. And,
Yeah.
the Irish people
To
were kind of
foreign-
given their deal.
yeah.
Like, hey, you want to sell your soul to the white devil and sold to the white devil and you can be one of us and oppress the others. But like Italians, Irish, none of these people are, like to me, white.
Is that
like
your
if-
evil laugh?
like I remember being and when I remember
like
in
it.
college, like in some gender studies class or something, like an Iranian guy like being like, hey, what race am I then? And the teacher he was like, well, because when I came through, the border or whatever, they were like, they said that I guess you're white. She's like, yeah, I guess you're white. And I'm like, good luck with that. Then I
Yeah.
mean, I guess if you mean white in the sense of like, do you have privilege? Do you consider whatever? I'm like, I don't, I think it's better to define it really narrowly so that we can do the work of also dismantling the whole concept of it, because white archetypally is this like good, clean, pure kind of a thing. And it's like, it's not great to be calling some people white instead of realizing we're all kind of brown together, except for
Yeah.
albinos and gingers. But that's,
Yeah.
Justin.
yeah. But he's still pink over there. Give him 2 minutes in the sun and they're pink.
Okay. So they just have to be people of color though. So if they're white,
Well,
they
we're
gotta
all
go
people of
get
color.
red.
And if
Yeah.
pink is a
I
color.
feel
Pink
like-
is a color. I'm saying
That's what I'm saying.
you have to be in the
Even
sun though. Like you
most-
can't just be white.
Yeah,
most
yeah.
white
We'll
people-
force,
You have to get
force
color.
them. Yeah.
Most
Sorry.
white people by now are like 7 shades of white. Like it's like so
Seven
mixed.
shades of tan and
yeah,
wheat,
it's
as I call
it's
us.
like so mixed at this point. Like I know for sure.
Listen, white people, stop trying to be black. All
But
right.
it's
I'm
not.
not-
We're just all
Stop
brown.
trying to be black right now.
We're beige, tan,
Stop trying to be
brown,
black right now.
wheat,
Look,
whatever.
I do this experiment with people whenever I hang out when we start talking about race and shit, and they ask what I am, and I'm like, okay, I'm Cajun. Would you consider that what do you call it? Not person of color, or not person of color? because some people think of Cajun, they immediately think Creole and black. So some people say person of color, POC, that Cajun is technically POC, and some people say no because they think French, and then they go non-POC.
I would say, let me try your crawfish etouffee first.
Yeah. I gotta taste
Mine
it.
is fire.
Let me try your po'. Then you are definitely a person of color, my friend.
You've tried my crawfish pie.
Yes, and based on that assessment,
What's more
I
important
say you
than
are
color?
POC.
Person of seasoning is more important.
Yeah,
than,
yes.
it is.
Yes.
POSs.
Oh, that's great.
POS.
Yeah, how about POSs?
Yeah.
Let's talk
We can all
less
be
about
POSs
POCs
together.
We can.
Well, and it's
yeah.
very creepy to continue to divide the world as we did to justify slavery. It's very creepy to be like, there's white people and then color people.
Yeah.
Like,
Doesn't it
we
make
just
more
need
sense
to move away from
to
that?
divide people based on how much spicy
Seasoning.
food they
Yeah.
can consume?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because then at least you know how to seat everybody at a
Yes.
party.
I just think
Right?
we could all call
That's
each
a,
other.
that's a segregation we could all get behind.
We could all call each other like foods, whatever. Like Irish people would be like
We are
potato
foods.
people.
We are
you're
foods.
Like British and kind of German, all that could be wheat people. Then you could be corn people, rice people.
I don't want to be
Just-
corny.
Well, is that what you would be?
No.
We'd be crawfish people.
I'm not corny. No,
Yeah,
corny.
crawfish people.
I'd be crawfish people.
Be like goat, probably.
Goat people.
no, you would be chicken
No,
people.
Caribbean.
everyone has to be a vegetarian.
Chicken
dish.
people.
No, that's black people.
No.
Black people, they would maybe be like purple yams or something.
Yeah.
See, the problem is that you would have to go back to racial stereotypes to be able to know what food
Yeah.
everybody is.
Just-
So now you're kind of back at square
'cause
one.
Somebody would immediately go collard green people.
Or, okay,
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
How
Yeah,
about
we gotta
this?
go back to the because then we
How
don't know what to
about-
base our
soul food
How about
people.
everybody gets a color?
categorization on.
How about everybody gets a color, but no one does white because of archetypal reasons and stuff. So we could be pink
one
or
does white?
wheat. Yeah, we just can't. And no one is white. So let's
Some
just
people
not.
are white.
It's but it's pretty rare. And again, 2 minutes in the sun, and we'll fix that. So
But they don't live in places
only
with sun.
albinos. If you're an
albinos can be
albino.
white. Yes,
Albinos.
only albino. Okay, fine, but they have to be truly white.
Yeah.
I mean,
Otherwise,
but
you
all
kinda-
that's going to
this is
mean
kind of wheat or pink, I think. And then there's and Asians are fine with yellow as long as you're not doing. They call themselves yellow
Yeah.
all the time. So like, I
Right.
just that's a
but
hang
that's
up of
something
us.
I'm down to just let them do.
We had one-
I don't feel comfortable calling them yellow.
We had one Asian kid in my high school, and he called himself Yellow Man.
Okay, good for him.
I mean, but they do. I mean, I watch
That was like his
like
nickname.
actual Chinese stuff a lot because of my girlfriend, and so like they refer to themselves as yellow just all the time. Like it's not a big deal to them.
Okay.
Like you don't ever
Shades
want
of yellow.
Yeah, but you don't want it to be like something that we say derogatorily, and so we just need to kind of move past the idea that that's. And so I think if white people call ourselves pink or wheat, like it goes a long way to be like these are just colors instead of it being like we're white
Pink or
and
wheat?
Wheat, I think wheat is good for a
You just
color.
name yourself after like neutral color palettes at Home
Yeah,
Depot.
which I hate. I hate beige. I
You're
hate
like,
so
I'm
ugly.
I'm snowbound.
Well, that's not me, but a little pink. You know what I mean? It's kind of. I think it's kind of
Off-white.
nice and
Yeah.
humbling. I think it's humbling.
Alabaster.
Well, I do like it when people actually have that alabaster. Like
It's
usually I
great.
don't like really pale, but if they have like that smooth, creamy
That's what I'm
alabaster
talking
skin,
about.
that is nice.
It's great, and Asians
Yeah.
have that too.
Asians oftentimes, are very
What's the problem? Huh? I see no problem.
Yeah.
The only problem there is with race is that we actually don't get to say whatever the fuck we want about it. That's the
Right.
real problem.
Yeah.
Well, I think we were going such a good direction, in the 90s, early 2000s. Things were getting better and better. They weren't perfect yet, obviously, but things were getting better. We were all getting along better. And then with social media and things, like things got worse. And the young people, I think, don't have a real perspective on how better things were getting. They'd been taught that this is the most racist country in the world. I saw something the other day where someone was saying on Twitter that the same, I can't remember what he said, but he said like that we were all taught that slavery was good, basically. I'm like, that is not what we
No.
were
We
taught.
weren't taught that.
We were
What the fuck?
absolutely taught about
Nobody
how
was ever
no
taught
one
that.
was ever I mean, maybe
Yeah.
100 years ago they were. I
Yeah.
don't know. But
when it
like,
was happening.
when it was
right?
happening,
Just like
or
now,
like-
everybody's like, AI is great. Yay. AI. Artificial intelligence, right? 100 years from
Yeah.
now, you're not going to say that.
Well,
we're gonna be dead.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe in Jim Crow South, like some people, whatever. But like, no, it's been a long time. I grew up in Texas. You know what I mean? Like, we were only taught about how horrible slavery was
Yeah.
and how horrible racism is. And
Same.
racism
Yeah.
was completely out of fashion. We were all like,
I
that's
grew up in the
fucking
Bronx.
gay.
We were only ever taught about how horrible white people are.
Yeah,
right?
same
That's
for
that's how it is, you know?
No, yeah, for sure. I grew up in like a small town, like total 100 people in my class, South Louisiana high school. Slavery was bad.
Slavery was-
Yeah, everywhere.
in the civil civics textbooks. It's slavery was bad. This is a horrible thing we shouldn't have done.
Right. We were sorry.
How
We're
ridiculous
sorry.
is it that we need to even say this right now,
Right.
though? You know?
It's
Truly.
insane.
That you feel the need to be like, listen.
I think the kids have really been given some kind of mind virus that they really think that we were all raised with this idea of like white supremacy. And I was like, no. When we grew up, we were all raised with Martin Luther King's dream. Yeah. Every single one of us was on board with that. And anybody who wasn't, we were all like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you're creepy and weird.
Yeah, but it's like this book says, right? It doesn't matter what the reality is, right? The reality is to disparage the present.
Yeah.
And also the past, and only to look for the future, right?
Yeah.
And they think that they're the future.
Right.
Because they're young and they haven't fucked up enough yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
They haven't seen cycles come and go.
They haven't gotten addicted to anything. They haven't made a mistake. They
Well, they haven't
gotten into
realized
a
what they're
vice.
addicted to yet.
They haven't realized that they're losers yet.
Yeah.
You know, they are still young enough, and everybody's telling them they have potential, right? And that they're the future. So remember when what it felt like when people told you that, right?
Sure.
So now here we are, you know, doing a podcast.
But yeah, I do believe that the internet has just accelerated that idea of like that, slavery was like that whole ideology mindset. It accelerated that faster than the more traditional mindsets of like, no, we're pretty decent country. We're not perfect, but like we're not completely racist.
We were going in the right direction.
We're going in the right
and we
direction.
were dealing with racial issues that most countries never had to deal with. And we were actually it was really pioneering to come up with the idea that you shouldn't be racist.
Yeah.
Because until a few decades ago, everyone around the whole world, and still in many countries,
say,
they are still
are.
unapologetically racist against their people in the same country are racist against people who live 5 miles away.
Yeah.
Those people are barbarian. You know, that's very normal. This was a new idea in the West, and particularly in America, to go like, hey, actually, we could all be Americans together. It doesn't matter what kind of differences, racially and religiously and stuff. We can all do this together. Like, it took a while. It was a whole process, but this is like, we're the ones doing the hard work over here of dismantling racism. And then to be told by those like other countries, like in the George Floyd protest era, when all these other countries are like, oh, America's so racist. I'm like, don't believe the fucking propaganda.
Well, they were
man.
just doing that because each of the countries that tried to say that were themselves under scrutiny for something heinous. Like China was like,
we were being
everybody's like,
scapegoated.
China, what's up with the Uyghurs?
Yeah.
What's up with the Uyghurs, China? And China's
by
like,
the way-
oh, you're so racist. It's George Floyd, right? And when everybody's like, oh yeah, I guess you're right, you know?
Yeah.
How's that?
It.
Was that good?
That was a fun
That
time.
was a good one.
Oh, you're so racist.
You're so, so racist. America.
That was pretty bad, actually.
I think the worse you do it, the better.
Yeah,
The
that's
worse
true.
you do it, the less insulting it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then it feels like
It's more
just so
satire
silly.
than
Yeah.
You can only do it terribly, or you got to be really good, like Russell Peters.
Yeah.
You have to,
Exactly.
You have to,
It
like,
has to
know
be
what
one
you're
or
doing.
the other.
Yeah. But that's kind of it when it comes to any racial shit at all, right?
Yeah.
People don't like hacks.
Yeah.
And that's
Or hacks who don't realize they're hacks.
yeah, hacks and people without a sense of humor. Like people
Right.
don't want either one of those. Everybody in the middle, those are the ones that they're like, please stop being racist. And it's not because it's bad, it's because you suck at it.
Yeah.
You suck at
Yeah,
it.
don't be racist
Go
unless it's
study.
funny.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We only and that's something
Because that's all it is. Racism, the only thing it is funny. Because
Right.
it's ridiculous.
Well, that's what I think people don't understand, even about like Tony Hinchcliffe and his kind of people, is a lot of times, because I always complain when if people make a racial joke, it's not necessarily racist. But even if you make a racist joke, if everyone in the audience understands that you're kidding, that of course you're kidding because it's 2024 and racism is completely outre. You know what I mean? Like we're all moved on from that.
Yeah.
So now when you make the joke, we're all in on that it's a meta joke about how like that you would make that joke.
Yeah. Well, look, what would I'd rather, even if a guy stumbled in from off the street and said those kinds of racial jokes, but he wasn't even joking, like he said it seriously, I would prefer an audience that laughed that guy out of the room.
Because we would just laugh at him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then a
Yeah.
crowd that goes,
Right.
fuck you.
Or takes it seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
this
gets
is a
outraged.
grave matter. And like, no, this is a schizophrenic person.
This
Yeah.
guy needs help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy's on fentanyl.
Yeah.
Let's help
Treat him
this
like
guy.
a crazy homeless person who just needs to be out the door real quick. Let's go.
Exactly.
I think fentanyl would probably make you less racist. You're probably pretty chill.
Oh yeah.
Let's give
there's only-
racist fentanyl.
There's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to try some fentanyl.
Let's sprinkle fentanyl on over Mississippi and fix that.
Dude, I love. I've told you this before, but one of my favorite things about you is like your solutions to problems are. It's always eugenics. Like it's
not
always
eugenic.
like, let's take this certain region and population, let's sprinkle the water with a certain compound, and it'll influence their behavior in a certain way that I think you'll be pleased with.
Yes, I think. Well, I've been saying anyway that look, if first of all, if the Israelis and Palestinians can't solve their differences, if they can't learn to share, neither of them should get it, And so, but I think the Jews do need a home. So let's give them Mississippi.
Okay.
I think if anybody can clean up Mississippi, it's the Jews.
Yeah, but Mississippi's gonna be like, come and take it.
Yeah, but we can take. The Israeli army is pretty well funded.
We'll look the other way. We'll just look the other way while it happens.
They
We're good
can
at that.
knockball the shit out of those people. No one's gonna mind.
All right, I think we've come to the end of
Yeah,
today, and I
yeah.
think that was a great.
That was awesome.
That was a good note
fun.
to
Thanks,
end
that was
on.
fun.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have what's your Instagram and you have any your podcast you want to plug or anything?
Sure, yeah. My Instagram's Ellen to Genderless. And I would like you to follow me on YouTube. I'm starting to do more YouTube stuff. So I've got the Politically Non-Binary podcast that'll be coming out of hiatus soon. And yeah, I'm also starting to put up like YouTube stuff where like I'm actually talking to the, and not hiding behind conversation. But you can find everything that I do at Ellen to Genderless.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Melissa?
The Melissa Diaz, number 4, letter U. That's about it. Oh, not backwards C. Letter U. Sorry, took a little bit of mushrooms earlier.
Nice.
I'm illiterate now.
How do you do it in sign language?
Oh, I don't know.
It's this.
I had learned how to say I am Clay, and then I forgot it like a week later. I'm so bad with sign language. I don't even try anymore.
How about this one?
I'm my name is Mud9210 on Instagram. Come follow us on YouTube, the Turtle Reads Podcast, obviously, since you're watching this, and go watch all the other podcasts on the Creek and Cave Studios. They're all pretty funny. And we're going to have Mike McRae on the next one, reading 1177 BC. Fuck. It's such a long. All these titles for books are so long.
You're getting the nerds now.
I know. We're getting really into the weeds.
We're getting
it's
these
a lot.
cerebral audience members. They're gonna 1177.
1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed, I think is what it's called.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it's that was going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
Looking forward to it.
Later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.